Welcome to Audit Archive, where we run you through some of the most questionable and rather atrocious police encounters. Today, we're looking at a case where a drunk police captain got pulled over and immediately wanted the officer to turn his body camera off so he could run away from it. Just after midnight on March 12, 2023, Sergeant Christopher Skinner of the Oklahoma City Police Department was out on patrol duty when he noticed an unmarked, city-owned SUV constantly swerving and speeding around on the road. Sergeant Skinner pursued the vehicle and also watched the driver take a turn without signaling. Minutes later, Sergeant Skinner was able to catch up and initiate a traffic stop after the suspect pulled into a private driveway. The suspect here is 55-year-old James French, a serving police captain for the Oklahoma City Police Department, who was, as evident from his watery eyes and slurred speech, clearly very drunk and certainly not suitable to be sitting behind the wheel. After introducing himself, Captain French was questioned by Sergeant Skinner about whether he had consumed any alcohol that night.
"You been drinking tonight?"
And in response, Captain French arrogantly emphasized his status as a captain of the department, implying that he believed himself to be exempt from normal procedures.
"I'm a captain on the police department."
As unbelievable as it sounds, Captain French then requested Sergeant Skinner to turn his body camera off, which simply proved how irresponsible and corrupt he was. Regardless, Sergeant Skinner completely ignored and disregarded Captain French's immoral request and proceeded with his investigation anyway. Despite already being ignored by Sergeant Skinner, Captain French went on to shamelessly signal and whisper to Sergeant Skinner in an attempt to convince him to turn his body camera off. However, Sergeant Skinner immediately made it clear that he would not turn his body camera off.
"I'm not turning my camera off."
And promptly ordered Captain French to step out of his vehicle.
"Go ahead and step out of the vehicle."
The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights makes it clear in Article 1 of their Code of Conduct for law enforcement officials that law enforcement officials shall at all times fulfill the duty imposed upon them by law, by serving the community and by protecting all persons against illegal acts, consistent with a high degree of responsibility required by their profession. Oklahoma law is also in line with this code of conduct. If Sergeant Skinner was to comply with Captain French and turn his body camera off, he would fall under the violation of police misconduct and be subject to criminal charges or penalties. Captain French finally told Sergeant Skinner how much he had to drink, saying that he had just 3 or 4 beers at a poker game and was only driving 4 blocks down to his house.
"How much we drink tonight, sir?"
I was at a poker game.
"Beer, liquor?" How
Beer.
many beers?
3 or 4.
You think you should drive it?
No, but I came from 4 blocks.
The footage shows that Captain French acknowledged his wrongdoings and also apologized, but that did not stop him from pleading with Sergeant Skinner to turn the body camera off. At this point, Captain French was under investigation for driving under the influence. For such cases, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has identified 3 types of standardized field sobriety tests that may be administered to an individual by a police officer if they suspect the person is driving under the influence of alcohol. These tests include the horizontal gaze and nystagmus, the walk and turn test, and the one-leg stand test. As per protocol, Sergeant Skinner started with the horizontal gaze and nystagmus, and it soon became obvious that Captain French was completely out of it as he continued to move his head to follow the officer's pin, despite being told not to do so multiple times.
"Don't move your head, sir."
Captain French was then subject to the one-leg stand test, which he miserably failed right after the test began. Knowing that he was way too drunk, Captain French switched back to his initial tactic of pleading with Sergeant Skinner to turn his body camera off so that he could talk to him.
Turn that off,
"I cannot, sir."
please.
In other words, Captain French was simply convincing Sergeant Skinner to engage in police misconduct. In September 2021, a 9-page body-worn camera policy statement was released by the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, which includes a list of instances when the cameras must be activated. This list states that officers should turn their body-worn camera on prior to any investigative detention, mental health detention, traffic or vehicle stop, motorist assist, or custodial arrest. Therefore, Sergeant Skinner was quick to refuse any requests and reminded Captain French that officers are not allowed to turn their body cameras off during investigations. He also went on to school Captain French as to why he would never favor anyone, regardless of their position in society. Despite all of that, Captain French continued to plead in front of Sergeant Skinner several times, but failed to waver Sergeant Skinner's honesty and morality as a law enforcement officer. Regardless, Sergeant Skinner asked Captain French if he'd like to try the test one more time, to which he agreed.
You want to try that again?
I will.
But as expected, Captain French lost balance and stumbled soon after restarting the test. And then, as ridiculous as it gets, Captain French continued to beg Sergeant Skinner a couple more times again.
3, 4. Sir, please. Please. I'm asking you.
I can't do that.
Okay.
At this point, Sergeant Skinner was evidently frustrated at Captain French's negligent behavior, but regardless of that, he offered Captain French to try the last test, which was the walk and turn test.
So we're not going to do the test?
We will.
Amidst this, a fellow officer showed up on the scene to provide backup for Sergeant Skinner in case it was required. Upon seeing this, Captain French was keen to know who the officer was,
Who is this?
One of my partners.
and it's safe to assume that Captain French was simply finding an opportunity to maybe convince another officer to slip everything under the rug and let him go home with no consequences. Sergeant Skinner demonstrated the walk and turn test for Captain French and instructed him to begin. However, it comes as no surprise that Captain French was way too drunk for any field sobriety test and completely failed this one also. All three tests not only proved that Captain French was tremendously drunk, but they also showed that he was an irresponsible and corrupt captain who did not deserve to be a part of the Oklahoma City Police Department. But what followed definitely served the much-needed justice, as it was now crystal clear that Captain French was driving under the severe influence of alcohol. He was placed under arrest by Sergeant Skinner and booked on charges of driving under the influence of alcohol and failure to signal the intention to turn. Sergeant Skinner's official police report noted that French's breath smelled of alcohol, his eyes were watering, and his speech was slurred. After being placed in handcuffs, Captain French was taken into custody and subsequently booked into the Oklahoma County Detention Center. However, he was released on bond soon after. As this incident was made public, Police Chief Wade Gorley commended Sergeant Skinner for adhering to the department's body camera protocol, saying that the officer did exactly as he should have and handled it very professionally in my opinion. As far as how the officer responded, he did exactly as he should have. Chief Gorley also added that our policies of our body camera, there are certain types of calls that the body cameras are required to be on, and traffic stops are one of those. Meanwhile, an internal investigation was launched, and Captain French has since been placed on administrative leave with pay. To clarify the current investigative situation, Chief Gorley stated that as soon as we were notified of the incident, he was placed on administrative leave with pay, adding that we do have a process that when criminal charges are filed, per our FOP contract, we do what is called a predetermination hearing to then put that person on leave without pay because, again, it's a criminal matter. So we can put him on leave without pay, but there's a process we have to go through to do that. According to the department, the investigation into the incident remains ongoing at this time. Be sure to check out our previous video where we cover another outrageous police encounter.